In 1955, a 14-year-old black child named Emmett Till was murdered for making pretty aggressive pass toward a white woman in the South. All right.
Married white woman in a store.
Yeah, in a store. And then that was a big story at the time and helped lead to the civil rights era of the 1960s. And then it sort of faded from the newspapers. The New York Times mentioned Emmett Till's name twice in 1980. In 2000, they were up to mentioning him 4 times. By, I think, 2018, they were mentioning him something like 1.5 times a week, about as often as Chief Justice John Roberts' name appeared in the New York Times. It just became this huge breaking news story. And I joke that they had a jet at LaGuardia fueled up, always ready to fly to anywhere to report on the latest Emmett Till news. All right. This kind of antiquarianism is increasing because, the truth for liberals is the liberals have been pretty much in charge of most things involving race since the 1960s, and they haven't really accomplished that much. So they kind of want to hide their record and focus people on pre-civil rights antiquities such as Emmett Till, or you constantly hear these days about FDR's redlining of FHA loans in 1938 as the reason that black neighborhoods tend to have lower property values than white neighborhoods or Latino or Asian neighborhoods. And, it couldn't have anything to do with current crime rates. It couldn't have anything to do with discipline in the local schools. It's got to do with the nefarious plot of FDR. In almost 90 years ago. And
why does no one so often, all these southern cities are famous in American culture for their association, the Edmund Pettus Bridge, Selma, Alabama. Oh, yeah. The trial in Wilmington. There's like these moments in the civil rights era that people are still, as you pointed out, talking about. Philadelphia, Mississippi. Why does no one ever go back to those places, those physical places, and find out how they're doing?
Yeah, Birmingham not doing that well. Selma not doing that well. It's what then ends up is you end up getting a long lecture about how the construction of a freeway in 1958 destroyed the booming Black Wall Street of Birmingham or whatever, and all sorts of things like that. There's a large number of pre-canned excuses.
But is there any effort to actually improve the lives of black people that you're aware of?
What does improve the lives of black people? Basically having some law and order, keeping people from carrying guns on the street. That's probably done quite a bit of good. Basically, the parts of the country that are run by Republicans tend to have somewhat better performing black students in schools and so forth. For example, Frisco, Texas, a fast-growing exurb of Dallas, has the smallest test score gap of any school district in the country. That has the highest, it's about 11% black and 20% Hispanic, and it has the highest black and Hispanic test scores in the United States.
Really?
And the smallest white-black gap in the country. And other places, the great liberal cities like San Francisco and Madison, Wisconsin, tend to have bigger gaps, not just because they have a lot of smart white people living there, but they do a lousier job in San Francisco of educating blacks because it's such a liberal, progressive environment that they do a poor job of doing things like having well-disciplined schools and focusing on basics and so forth. So yeah, there's been a general trend toward blacks who have some choices in life, who are looking to get ahead, looking to do good things for their kids, to be moving to the South, to Texas, to red states and so forth, where, they can, and away from the highly liberal parts of the country. It's not a panacea, but yeah, it does some good at the margin.
Where are we on the continuum? In other words, if the graphs that you showed, the 4 years after the Floyd verdict or Floyd death, like if you extended those, if you doubled them, what would they look like? Where are we now?
We're hopefully past the worst of the racial reckoning. What I've noticed in the newspapers was that the front section around a few months before the 2022 election seemed to get the word from maybe the Biden White House that, like, this whole George Floyd racial reckoning thing, that's not going to be a big vote winner in the 2022 midterms, especially in the New York City area. So let's go easy on it. Let's not talk about it all the time. Maybe it wasn't such a good idea. And then it just sort of disappeared from the serious news part of the paper. In the cultural section in the back, they never got the memo, so there's constantly discussions about how, in a great leap forward for equity at the Art Institute of Chicago, they fired all the nice white lady docents who work for free giving tours of the great artwork so they can hire people of color to and pay them to work there and stuff like that. And you kept hearing all those kind of stories going on much longer about the wonders of the racial reckoning because, they hadn't gotten the message. But yeah, probably the Biden administration engaging in benign neglect about let's not persecute police departments quite as hard as we were, has probably done some good about getting the cops out of the donut shop and actually pulling over, people driving 100 miles an hour. And so, yeah, that's made some progress, but it took the Hispanics a while longer to get the word that the cops weren't being proactive, and so their car crash and murder rates have gone way up. And it's even if things are getting better now, they're going to take a number of years to get back to where we were in 2019, much less where we were before Ferguson in 2014.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. We hope you'll subscribe to it. And by the way, you can hit the little bell on there and get notifications every time we produce a video. We hope you'll do that also.